Hello and thanks for stopping by. This is Stern Pinball Arcade for the Nintendo Switch, released in 2017 for the Switch by Farsight Studios. This game was released back when there really weren't that many games out for the Switch. Now, of course, we have a ton. I've done a bunch of different video pinball games on the channel, most of which don't use branded tables. This one is the opposite of that because all they use are branded tables. I actually think you can buy these individually in the Switch store if you want, but when I was looking, the overall price to get the digital copies, it was more expensive than the cart. This one's described as being the most realistic pinball simulator available. I don't know if that's true or not, but it certainly seems to have a focus on reality of the tables. These are all basically digitized versions of actual pinball tables in the wild, and the sounds seem like they're directly taken from the machines as well, which is nice. If pinball reality is your thing, then this is probably a good game for you to check out. If you're looking for something of a more unique video pinball experience where physics and table shapes are all different and weird, this is not that type of game. This one has a total of 11 different tables, and the first thing that really sticks out is that there seems to be a lot of loading time moving from the menu to a table. I'm fine with the loading times, but it just seems longer than I would expect, especially from something so advanced as the Switch. I've seen more complex games have lesser loading times. But as the tables are loading, you do get to see posters that advertise the pinball tables back when they were for sale, so it's not like we just have a blank screen to stare at. I also feel this is one of those games where the Switch has different levels of success with it, depending on how you actually play it. Now, it took me a bit to find this out, because my game didn't come with a manual. I think most games don't include manuals anymore anyway, but in this one, you can adjust the angle of the table if you use the B button, and you can do it on the fly. This totally changes the playability of this game handheld. At first, I thought the game was terrible handheld. I could barely see anything and I was getting frustrated. Then I started poking around and figuring things out. So if you think this table was displayed at a bit of an unnatural angle, you can press the B button to rotate to something that's more visually usable. If you play the game with the Switch in docked mode and the game is on screen, it's certainly going to be bigger than handheld, and you get to appreciate the details of the tables more. One of the great features with this one that I was unaware of at first, call back to not having a manual, you can press the minus button on the left Joy-Con, you can detach the Joy-Cons, and it flips the table lengthwise on screen. If you're playing portable, it's totally a different experience this way. It works so much better. There's also an option from the pause menu. It says Call Attendant. Now, I don't know if this was inserted to add realism to this game or not, or if it's designed to get out of a programming problem maybe, where pinballs might get stuck and this is how you fix it, but it kind of seems like a good idea. If something gets stuck in the game, you just call an attendant to fix it. So the tables. Naturally, these are branded tables, so if there's a particular movie or band that you're a fan of and that's here, obviously that's going to be the table you gravitate towards, no doubt. Also notice when you're playing the table, any table really, behind the table there's like a backstop, because you're sort of playing it in this room. It has some really black surfaces on that structure. I think they might have missed applying some textures to this game. Now I can't unsee it once I've seen it. We'll start with the Frankenstein table. It's based on the movie with Robert De Niro. I never cared much for the movie, but the table's nice looking enough. There's a long clear plastic ramp on the left side of the table that's pretty neat. Also, there's this big Frankenstein statue in the top middle of the game that's kind of interesting. There's Harley Davidson, 3rd edition, and if you like Harley Davidsons, I think this would be an exciting table for you. The branding for this one, it's just totally lost on me personally. However, the table plays well. I seem to get multi-balls kind of easy on this one compared to some of the other tables. Also, this is one of those tables where the surface has a few openings for your ball to drop into. The motorcycle on the table can actually tilt back, and every now and again you can shoot a ball underneath it. Also, I managed to trigger a minigame in this game on the digital display. You can use the flippers to steal your motorcycle around cars, or people running on a freeway for some reason. I never ran over a pedestrian, but I did crack my jaw on the back of a vehicle, so that was something. There's AC/DC Premium, and this is the band. As you would imagine, it has AC/DC music in it. The best part about this title, I think, is the ability to choose what AC/DC song you want to listen to before you start the table. You can use the bumpers to scroll through all the available songs. Also, we're not talking a bunch of just B-side songs. We're talking about songs from all eras of the band. It's pretty great. I mean, AC/DC table's probably one of my favorites in this entire game here. The music alone makes this one fun. And then, of course, there's a cannon that you can use in this game to launch a ball into the space. It's great. We have Star Trek Vengeance Premium, and this is based off of the modern run of movies. This one is colorful, it has a lot of open table, but when you're playing this game, all I mostly hear are sound effects and audio clips from the movie. There is some music in the background, but it's this sort of background type of music. Something you'd hear in the middle of an action scene, so it's mood setting, but not memorable or iconic like the main Trek theme. You do get to hear that between the games, it seems, but I think I'd like this one more if it was interspliced with the gameplay in a more meaningful way. There's Mustang Premium Boss, and I guess if you like muscle cars, you might like this table. It has a really nice clear ramp on the right side, and it ends in this circular chamber. If you get a ball in there, it'll swirl around. It's pretty nice. It also has some branded music. There's a Beach Boys song, Motorhead, The Romantics, Edgar Winters, and a few more. It's okay. When I first played it, I thought it felt like a slot machine in Vegas, but it's pretty good. There's Phantom of the Opera, and this is based on the classic play. There's no movie tie-in. It's really more of a classic feeling pinball table with a gothic styling to it, and it's something you'd expect to find probably in the 80s, I think. This was before they started to have really advanced LED displays, or minigames, and digital audio clips. There are some screams here, and the sounds are fine, but it's more of a classic pinball experience. I do really like the artwork here, it's nice looking. There's Ghostbusters Pinball Premium, and this is based off of the movie franchise. It's a pretty good table with lots of purple in it for some reason. It does use the tune from the movie, of course, and it does have audio clips inserted as well. I kind of wanted there to be more audio clips in this one. It just felt like it doesn't have enough. The table does have different parts of the city in it. There's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man at the top right. And also, there's this arm near the top that every now and again it'll move a ghost that's hanging from it into the playfield. You can hit it for points. There's Ripley's Believe It or Not. And maybe this is an odd franchise by today's standards, but when I was a kid, this was a thing. There was a TV show. It was pretty popular. This one has some nice wire ramps, but the theming doesn't do too much for me personally. It pops up odd facts every now and again. Sort of standard stuff. Starship Troopers. This one's a little weird to me because it seems like it's based on the movie, but then the colorful graphics on the table and the cartoony imagery makes it seem maybe a little more like the book. It does have some audio clips and they sound like they're from the movie, but the colors on this table don't match my expectations. I was a fan of that movie. I watched it a lot. This one has 3 flippers at the bottom, which is nice, and various aliens on the table. There's plenty of stuff here, but the color palette. In the movie, it's mostly brown. They were on a desert planet for the big events, and here it just feels like a mix of tropical stuff. It just seems different to me. It's okay. The Last Action Heroes, another movie table. They made cartoons of the movie for the table itself, which I think it looks fine here. The table was from the 90s, like the movie, and the digital audio back then, it wasn't always the clearest. I think that lack of clarity in the 90s for this type of audio, that translates directly here. It sometimes sounds a little muffled. The table's fine. It has a large middle playing field. There's a lot of space in it. There's also High Roller Casino. This is a non-branded table, and it's themed around a casino. There's not a lot of audio with this one. It does have a digital display for it, and it's got a couple of unique table elements. The one that stands out, I think, probably most is the roulette table at the top right. When you launch your ball into play, it can spin around that roulette wheel. It's different. Overall, it feels more like a classic type of pinball table, I think. It's okay. Now, for this one, as soon as I figured out the controls for the Switch in handheld mode, I started liking it a lot more. I was frustrated at first, and I put it down. If you hold the Switch in standard, sort of side-to-side mode, and you play this one, it just didn't give me an experience that I liked. It was frustrating. I couldn't see much. But being able to turn the screen sideways and sort of adjust how you play, that coupled with being able to change the angle you're looking at the table is nice. It's kind of awesome. I certainly don't care for all the tables here, but there are enough tables that I do like in this one to make this one actually pretty great for a pinball game. The AC/DC table alone is fantastic. Well, that's all I have today for Stern Pinball Arcade for the Nintendo Switch. Thanks for stopping by to take a look at this one, and I'll catch you on another video.